Hi, everyone, and welcome to the special simulcast, the Neil Haley's Trimulcast, the Neil Haley Show, the Storehouse Media Group podcast, and Criminally Good with Sherrie and Jen. Appreciate it, guys. Who's our guest today?
Well, I guess our guest today is Eric Immesberger. And Eric he spent 21 years as a special agent with the ATF. And he served as a detective and investigator in Brooklyn and was awarded the Combat Cross and Gold Valor Medal. And he speaks to all kinds of audience, law enforcement, colleges, law schools. So welcome, Eric.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Good to see you, Eric.
Jen, always a pleasure.
Yeah. So, you came up through, you came up into when you started up the Brooklyn DA's office and you were an investigator with them before you got onto ATF and you were there with 9/11. Um, so when you were there and 9/11 happened, I'm just going to get into it. Like what was your response? I mean, that was like a crazy thing. You were in the midst of it. What happened?
Uh, yeah, what a day. Uh, Ironically, ATF had hired a class of special agents. Their first day was 9/11. So we were getting one of them in our group in Brooklyn, Red Hook, Brooklyn. And I was also on our special response team at the time, ATF SWAT team. And uh, so 9/11 was a Tuesday. Sunday night, I flew back from a barricaded gunman situation that went about 60 hours before we grabbed them. So I just flew back from that. And Tuesday morning, 9/11. So this is before really, we had we didn't have smartphones, pagers pretty much. And I was going to give my G ride, my ATF car to the new gal that was starting. And I figured, let me do the right thing. I'm going to empty it out. I'm going to clean it out, vacuum it, wash it, change the oil, do everything. Here you go. And then I said, okay, good. And it was a blue sky, perfect day. I said, okay, I'm going to go out for a 5 mile run, which I did. Came back, got ready for work, emptied all my SRT stuff out of the car, and I was going to go get it taken care of. And then I didn't even turn on a TV or radio as I'm getting ready to go. I'm the only one in the house. It was perfect. And then I finally turned on the news, and every channel is, focused on the North Tower that had just been hit. And I was like, okay, wow. I run out to the G ride. Nobody's on the radio. I try to call our main intel center, which was the base of the Six World Trade Center attached to the north side of the North Tower. Nothing. I'm okay. So I packed all my SRT stuff back in the car. And now along with every other city cop, fireman, you name it, we're racing into the sea. I was out in Islip at the time. So I am going on the Southern State Parkway as fast as this car will go. Just when I get onto the Belt Parkway, it sounds like there's a helicopter right over the roof of the car. And I realized that I had shredded a tire off the back. I'm like, God. I pulled over, got the donut on. And so, Sherrie, you would notice as you're going to the Belt, to the Conduit, and then ultimately Atlantic Avenue, that's the straight A to B shot to get to Lower Manhattan, really. And I knew there was a Goodyear, a big Goodyear place. I literally lights and siren pulled right into an empty bay, and I'm like, tire now, fix it. I don't care what it costs. As they're doing that, I'm getting all my SRT stuff on because it was pretty well deemed a terrorist attack at that point. So who knows what was coming next after? I'll be ready for anything. Get the tire, flying down Atlantic Avenue, and it's just a sea of lights. There's like every off-duty cop, on-duty cop, fire. Everybody is racing to get to the X, Lower Manhattan. And I knew the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel was going to be shut down. So I said, I'm just going to jump over the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm on the Brooklyn side of the Brooklyn Bridge, second collapse, the North Tower. So so Brooklyn Bridge is 3 lanes going into Manhattan. I'm in the right lane. The left 2 lanes are like a zombie apocalypse of just a sea of people running on the number 1 and 2 lane to get into Brooklyn from Manhattan. And they are covered in the dust, the debris from the cloud, the collapse. I get to the corner of VC and the West Side Highway right by, I think that is Manhattan Community College right there. I just park on the sidewalk, and smartly, I jammed about 7 or 8 rolls of film into one of my BDU pockets and the little ATF Instamatic camera that every agent got issued. And I was glad I had that to document some things that day. Trying to find other ATF people, can't get anybody. The radios are down. There's no cells. There's nothing. So I happened to run into another agent, a brand new guy. And I said, look, we're going to walk the perimeter and we're going to see if anybody, we're just going to see if we can help anybody. As I start doing that, and I've got all the SRT stuff, and I see a guy, big guy, on a bicycle with a bandana pulled up to his eyes. And he's just staring at me. So I look at him and I'm like, who's this guy? I wave him over. He comes over, takes the bandana down. It's James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano. He was living at the Village at the time, and he's like, I had to drive down here and just see this. And I talked with him for a few minutes, and it was a good summation of how every American felt the rage that anybody would dare do something like this. We got we have 42 bomb and arson trucks worldwide. One of them was in Brooklyn. We got that out to the West Side Highway, and there are a few hospitals. One of them, Beekman Downtown Hospital, probably the closest one to the Trade Center. They sent a surgery team, and they set up basically a surgical center at our bomb truck with a tarp over it. And they're gloved up, gowned up, IV bags everywhere, and they have all their doctor gear. Nobody needed their help. So that was the other crazy thing of that day. You were either dead or you were fine. And there was almost nothing in between that we saw, or at least I saw with a few of our guys just right then and there. And this really deserves mention, because some firemen see me with all the ATF stuff on, and they said, you have to talk to this guy. They've got like a Wall Street guy, and he's covered in dust. And he goes, I saw a military missile go into the South Tower. This is a military missile that caused the South Tower. I said, okay, let me talk to you. I had already seen the South Tower hit replayed several times, clearly an airliner going into the building and debris coming out of the building. But just like the North Tower hit, the South Tower hit, everybody's looking at the North Tower. Nobody's looking a bit to the south, saw the other plane coming in. It was coming in about 500 miles an hour. This is a normal guy, and he is convinced that he saw a missile go into the building. I sit him down. I bring him into a news van. I sit him down to have some water. Tell me what you saw, and this is what he tells me. So I said, listen, what you saw is the engine of the airplane that flew out of the South Tower, and it landed in the middle of Church Street. You never know how big a plane engine is until you actually stand next to it. I could walk you over and show you this plane engine. That's what you saw. But the human condition, and we saw this, people that worked the TWA 800 accident many in 97. So what this guy, this is the human condition. He hears the plane hit the building. There's a massive fireball that causes him to look up. As he's looking up, he sees that flaming engine coming out of the South Tower and land and just flying. He doesn't see it land, but he sees it going through the air. The human brain it constantly forces an explanation to be had. Observation, what just happened? What did I just see? And in his mind, he puts together a missile. So we're in the news van, and I asked them, play back the hit of the South Tower, because that was captured on countless video. And he watched it twice, and he goes, okay, I'm sorry. I understand. I see exactly what happened. I said, I can walk you over there. We'll show you the engine so you're 100% satisfied. You know, no, I understand. But that is just a condition of the human mind. And it's just one of those crazy things that happened that day. So throughout the night and that afternoon, a fevered pitch that the want to find survivors that may be in this rubble. And I can tell you, looking at it, there was almost like the glow of the sun from the fireball in that rubble. And then 7 World Trade Center, 52-story building on the north side of VC Street collapsed about, I want to say 3 or 4 o'clock that afternoon. So the third major building collapse of the day. And right after, I would say within 2 hours of the Trade Center coming down, city engineers had already zeroed in on 7 World Trade Center, and they go, we think that is starting to not be completely straight. So they set up several tripods with almost rifle scopes, but whatever, the engineering version of that. And they had it on fixed points of 7 World Trade Center. And they said, yeah, as the afternoon wore on, the building actually creeped off what they had a fixed point. And they said that building is in danger of collapse. And sure enough. So, and then of course we're getting the news about Pennsylvania, the Pentagon, and Sherrie, I'm sure, and Jen, the natural law enforcement is, okay, what's next? And very shortly after the collapse of the Trade Center, we could see fighter jets doing circles over the Trade Center. That made us feel a little better that at least nothing else was going to make it into Lower Manhattan. But it was it was the Pearl Harbor of our generation, really, and pretty close to the death numbers, Pearl Harbor and 9/11. Really crazy. And then I'm sure you jumped into, I know Jen was working the Pentagon site. Everybody in New York, federal agent, NYPD, we were detailed to a massive landfill in Staten Island. And that's where, so all the debris from the Trade Center, which, to give everybody an idea how big is the Trade Center site, it was 17 acres. It's a big site. And everything was massive bulldozered out of there, put on a flat barge right at the East River, and towed to Staten Island, got put on massive dump trucks, brought to the landfill. And they had these huge Quonset huts, almost the size of a half a football field. And new debris would get there. It would all be laid out. We would make a line. There'd be 20, 25 of us, pitchforks, shovels, rakes. And we would start slowly going through it for obvious things. If there were body parts or any other firearms, the amount of firearms that were recovered in the landfill, huge number of firearms, most of them from ATF. We had our all the New York groups. The evidence vault for the city was at 6 World Trade Center. And crazy enough, Craig Carson, NYPD detective, task force detective in my group in Brooklyn, we decide to, you know what, we need 5 minutes. And this is, I think, the 13th to the 14th. We just need 5 minutes. So we walk across the street, walk across West Side Highway to that huge Battery Park, mega rich apartment complex that actually had been built on the excavated earth when they were building the Trade Center. And then they almost had free land. And then Battery Park went up. We're just on the lawn, drinking water, but we have all the ATF stuff on. And NYPD helicopter lands like 50 feet away from us. I think maybe they were looking to just sit down for 5 minutes too. So they see us, I see them, and I'm giving them, hey, can I come over there? And they're like, yeah. So we go over there, and I tell them, hey, ATF, any chance you could bring us up that we could actually look directly down in the 6 World Trade Center? If we knew where our evidence fall, then we probably had a few thousand firearms. Can we just get a look down? Yeah, jump in. So we go, and I've got a bunch of these pictures, low and slow, about 800 feet. It was just a burned out cinder. There was no seeing anything in that. But we would recover all the wood and plastic had been melted off the guns. Wood had been burnt off the guns. So we've just got a metal frame that would be recovered in Staten Island at the landfill. And yeah. And so there's the crews that would go through everything that would first get there. And then all of that debris would then be put in another pile, and then it would be put on a conveyor belt. And there would be 4 or 5 of us on each side of the conveyor belt inside a closed hut, and it would move past us. And again, you became quick at identifying things. We need to hold on to that. Of course, any human body parts, obviously, bones are the most thing that we recovered actually off of that conveyor belt, at least my team. So we had all these 5-gallon Home Depot buckets. You had a bone bucket, a picture bucket. Believe it or not, out of that collapse and calamity and fire and crushing, the amount of pictures that survived all of that. So you had picture bucket, you had a money bucket, a jewelry bucket, and you had an ID bucket. So Cantor Fitzgerald had the largest loss of life for a single company that day, maybe over 300 employees, just one company that was in the upper floors of the Trade Center. So when you would see those IDs from Cantor Fitzgerald or any of the other companies, it was just the ID card. And the extreme likelihood is whoever that ID had been clipped to was deceased. We never found it clipped to a shirt or anything. Found a lot of shoes. You know what we didn't find? You figure 220 floors of office space. I never saw a telephone or a desk. but pictures, money, jewelry, ID cards, all over the place. So we would get that. And there was another military tent that had been set up, a huge circular tent, almost like a circus tent. That's how big this thing was. And they got Southern Baptist missionaries from the southern states, came up to the landfill, and they ran the chow hall. So you would get fed and saved at the same time. So I told my crew, hey, I'm going to go grab something real quick to eat. I'll be back in like 20 minutes. This is only a 2-minute walk. Okay. I'm halfway to the chow hall, and I just happen to look down, and there's a human shin bone. So I could have walked it back to the bone bucket, then walked back to the chow hall. I pick up this human shin bone, and it was so clearly that's what it was. I put it in my BDU pocket, so it's sticking out, and I start talking to the shin bone, and I said, you know what? I'm going to take you for one last lunch before I bring you back to where you're going to go. And I sat in the chow hall with a shin bone sticking out of my pocket and ate lunch, and then went back, put it in the bone bucket. Yeah, crazy. And then got the first tattoo of many I wound up getting. But at 38 years old, 9/11, I got my first tattoo, just a simple NYC on my arm, just to have something connected to this moment. And we did the recovery efforts. My group, we worked at for about 6 months. So October through March of 2002. And at the same time, so we're not full-time at the recovery, because we would have to go back to the group. We would have to say, hey, this just came up, that just came, like crime. Crime took a pause for one day.
Wow. Yeah,
And
I'm
September
sure.
12th, it was right back to business.
What
as usual.
amazing story. We are running out of time. We're going to have to part 2. Guys, we got a good fun story on this podcast with no questions, but where can we find information on your show and all those different things? Where's the best place?
Yeah, Eric Immesberger, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, every platform you could imagine, Eric Immesberger. And I'm so pleased doing that. It's not work to me. It's like any chance I get to help anybody out, especially law enforcement, I jump at every chance to do that.
All right.
We're going to get you back for sure.
We're getting you back.
All right, Jennifer.
The debrief. The debrief.
Exactly.
Yeah,
all right.
On YouTube called The Debrief.
All right. StorehouseMediaGroup.com for all things media, publishing, and marketing. And then go to JenniferClarkeSkew.com to purchase her book. Appreciate it, guys. That was a special Trimulcast, the Neil Haley Show, Storehouse Media Group podcast.